opportunity here. Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that from Chris Rigg?
Banningham, 25 yards, lines it up and drills it into the back of the net.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore.
From 25 yards, lines it up and drills it into the back of the net.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore.
Good afternoon, everyone watching around the world. Welcome to SAFC Live. We're broadcasting around the world once again, and it's Sunderland back in action. 3 p.m. kickoff down in South Wales. Swansea on the road for the lads this afternoon. Alongside me is a Welshman, which is quite appropriate for this afternoon. Danny, how are you doing?
I'm good. From the north, though.
North Wales.
From the south, yeah.
It's a different country almost.
It is indeed, yeah. No, listen, it's a big one, isn't it? I think if you look at a 3-game week, disappointment in the week in terms of only picking up the point. But we said post-match on Tuesday night, really, if we managed to go and get the 3 down at Swansea, 7 points isn't a bad return. Yeah,
it wouldn't be a bad return as well. We'll give you the team news now before we start looking back at our previous game, which of course was against Bristol City on Tuesday night. Another frustrating night for Sunderland in this form we're in at the moment. And that's the team. 2 changes, Danny, Regis has made for today's game. Dennis Serkin back in the side, and that other change as well. Patrick Roberts coming in for Tommy Watson. It looks like he's going to be out.
Well, it does, yeah. And as you say, Patrick coming in, he thought he was getting more of a rest during the week, but it was, 25 minutes or so when he was called into action. Unfortunately for Tommy, who was getting better and better for me game by game, picked up that injury and that sort of block tackle, wasn't it? It was a good firm challenge. but unfortunately come off second best, and yeah, he's going to be out for a few weeks or a couple of weeks, isn't he? So yeah, a big blow for him, big blow for the side, especially with Romain being out injured as well in that position. But Meander, listen, I thought Meander done well. He played 3 positions on Tuesday night. He started where Patrick was. I thought he had some good moments out on the right hand side, then he moved out to the left. Again, he can go past people. We said it, didn't we? I said, knock it past your man. He'd done that, and the full-back was booked.
He's got a good burst on him, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And then second half, he got into a good couple of positions, getting inside the 18-yard box as well, pulling a couple of balls back. So just got to back himself and have that inner confidence, really, to go past the full-back. So there's the change in, as you say, Adji dropping down to the bench, Luke back on the bench after illness as well, and Dennis Sirkin coming in his natural position at full-back. So, yeah.
Pretty strong bench as well, Danny, considering Aushisha's contribution on Tuesday. Luke's back from an illness as well, so he's back on the bench as well. And obviously Adji Elise as well drops down to the bench.
Yeah, so quite strong in terms of strength and depth, really, and covering most positions as you'd like. And as you mentioned there, Aushish, been frustrated season for him, in and out of it, playing 21s football, not getting really too many opportunities this season. And but come off the bench, had an impact on the game. Lovely little bit of skill, good composure, squares it for Patrick, and Patrick scores his first goal from open play. So yeah, relief for Patrick, pleased for him after missing that penalty a couple of games ago down at Sheffield United. But yeah, no, I thought Patrick was better on Saturday against Stoke. Then obviously dropped down to the bench in the week, and he'd come on and got us the goal, which obviously earned us a point. OK,
let's have a look back at that game, which Danny has just referred to on Tuesday evening. We're back here at the Stadium of Light. That's where the game was. Tommy Watson had a great start to the game, didn't he?
Seen a lot of the ball as well, Tommy, yeah, and you can see confidence coming from him as well, and obviously off the back of his 2 goals as well, albeit early on he almost got caught on the ball there, then he turned into a little bit of traffic, but we got away with it, really. But yeah, it was frustrating. The game sort of panned out as we perhaps expected it to. We had a lot of the ball. They sat deep at times, made it difficult for us, looking to hit us on the counter attack, really. And then I thought Adji was decent as well at left back. This one just runs out of play, but seeing a few minutes later, here now on the overlap, touch out of his feet, fizzes a lovely ball across there, and Wilson Isidore, and it's just not happening for Wilson at this moment in time. He's getting opportunities. You know, balls coming into the box, that one there, it's a yard ahead of him. Another day, that one drops for him nice, and he's putting us in front. But yeah, people are saying a concern for us is obviously goals have dried up, and you know they have. You can't deny it, but we are still getting ball into the box. That's the big point for me, in terms of when you're not creating opportunity, and Wilson's not seeing any opportunity or ball coming into him. But even in this game, he had 2 or 3 opportunities. The Stoke game similar, and one's going to drop for him, and once he gets one to find the back of the net, I think he'll be off and running again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot has been made of that. Sunderland still creating these opportunities in these games where they're dropping points through these fine margins as well. What did you make of Bristol City on Tuesday evening, Danny?
Not too much to go out. Sinclair Armstrong here. This was their only real opportunity in the first half, wasn't it? It's a wide one. He gets in between the centre backs, and then see Chris Metten comes across, flying in there, gets the block in, and that was pretty much
and there was a bit of fortune really about their goal as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, we'll have a look at that in a minute. Here's the injury for Tommy now, isn't it? So again, Meander's done really well down there. It's gone past the full-back, cuts it back in. It just wouldn't sit for us for somebody to get a clean strike where you see here now, Isidore, tight marking into Chris Rigg, little back heel, and unfortunately, as he back heels it, it just favours the defender there.
It's McNally who scores the goal
gets the goal there. Listen, it's a good challenge, you know, it's a firm challenge, but unfortunately, those ones in a block tackle, most players have been there. You know, you roll your ankle or your knee ligaments, and as we say, unfortunately for Tommy.
Well, it sounds like Tommy's done both, hasn't
he?
Yeah,
it does actually. Yeah, listen to Regis in his press conference yesterday. Yeah, so it doesn't sound great. You know, as you say, young lad, hopefully he heals quite quick and he's back out there sooner rather than later.
Patrick Roberts came on, and he did play well at the weekend as well, and he proved to be an important member of Sunderland's squad on Tuesday night.
We did, yeah. He keeps on going, Patrick. You know, even when things aren't quite going for him, he doesn't shirk it. He wants to still get on the ball as much as he can. You know, driving at the full back, and listen, if it doesn't work out for him in games and that, you've got to contribute. And even in this one on Tuesday night, you know, he had moments. Let's just have a look at this penalty shout. I mean, we said on there, hard one. If he gives it the referee, I wouldn't argue it. That one there, you could say, is it a possible handball, and then panic sets in, and he see that angle there. It doesn't look as much for me. He almost leans across Adji, but the one from behind looks like it's a good shunt in the back. So listen, he didn't give it. You know, some people will say it's a penalty, and others maybe not. I'm in between. I'm sitting on the fence really. But But yeah, as we're just looking now, Leeds have just equalised there, haven't we?
Yeah.
At Preston.
Similar to what we did on Tuesday night. Injury time,
yeah,
equaliser from
getting one late
Leeds
on,
United, which of course...
Yeah, and just getting back on the highlights again. Meander again, look there, just shifts it a yard, doesn't he? And, you know, for him there, he wants to try and get back into the team and then get a settled position. Well, as we said in this one, he played all three, right wing, left wing, and then he finished the game as the lone striker the last few minutes of the game, didn't he? But yeah, you know, for him, if he's playing on the left, which we think he's going to today, go past your man on the outside on your favoured left foot. You don't always have to beat a man. You know, how many times do we say half a yard? It's all you need. If the fullback doesn't want to get tight, and he'll know about Meander's pace, so he'll probably sit off a little bit, then Meander's just got to feed a ball across. You know, Wilson's got to be on the move, try and time his run. But yeah, it is the goal now, isn't it? The opening goal to McNally there. He actually played quite well on the night. He was firm, strong in the challenge, as we've seen with Tommy, and he had one or two with Isidore where he bumped him off it. But here we're getting a bit of a mess. You know, Ballard and Adji. You know, it's one of those you say under 10s, just clear it, put your foot through it. Well, Dan Ballard tries to. Unfortunately, it comes off the Bristol City player coming across here now, gets the block on it, and then it's popping around, panic sets in, and then Adji, unfortunately for him, similar to Sheffield United where he poked the ball there with the little back heel. I think this one plays it across his 6-yard box straight into McNally, and good composure from him, centre back up there, good touch, and then fires it into the roof of the net. And we're thinking, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah, McNally taking his opportunity well. It was up to Sunderland to respond after that, and they again created more opportunities.
Yeah, no, we did, to be fair to the boys. Again, that's what's happened in games where we have gone behind, to be fair. I think you're looking at thinking, what reaction have we got now? So they're back on it, and Chris Rigg had 2 or 3. See Dan Neil trying to get on the end, but they threw bodies in the way. Knight, the skipper, time and time again, the number 12, was chucking himself in the way. I think it's him again on this one, is it? Now that gets out to Dan Neil. Yeah, it is. And Chrissy Rigg had 2 or 3 good opportunities. He's had one there. I think there's another one coming here now. Is that? So look, Patrick. Also replay that one, isn't it? Into Trey. Yeah, he's on the slide there. It's just ahead of him as he stretches for it. But he's getting in there, Chris Rigg. And I know I think he's got 3 goals so far this season. Dried up obviously a little bit recently, but he's getting into some good areas, Chris. And I think the goals, similar to Isidore, will start coming again for him.
Yep. More of the late chances here. I mean, this was Mehmeti, wasn't it? From
big opportunity. He was quite quiet, you know. He's a decent player, I think. You know, going back to say Wickham days, and he's I think he's top scorer for them was 6, wasn't he? That one there's a big opportunity, and it's 1-0 at this stage. So if he scores, that's probably game over, isn't it? There's Chris Rigg again. Meander goes past his man again. I think it's Bell off the bench for them. Doesn't really do enough on that occasion, which he doesn't do either for the goal, which we'll get onto in a minute, up against Oshish. And Joe, yeah, this one, yeah, he doesn't catch it, does he? You know, I remember saying on comms another day, he whips that one cross into that top corner. It's a bit safety, isn't it? Really trying to hit the target and straight at the goalkeeper. But we're still prodding, we're still probing here at this point. And here's Oshish now off the bench. This one, it's not actually, it's a lovely spot, isn't it? Mepham over the top.
Just couldn't got any power on the shot, could he?
No, it just, you know, it's sort of see it's spinning there, it gets away from him onto his weaker left foot as well. But yeah, he's always involved somehow, isn't he, Oshish, when he's out there on the pitch, more often than not when he's been introduced as a substitution, and that was the case again, which we'll get onto here now in a moment, for Patrick's goal. But you see them, they're defending well, they're deep at this stage, and most teams will see now coming to the Stadium of Light when they've got themselves in front, especially sitting deep and making it difficult for us. That one there, you see now Dan Ballard's top end of the pitch, we've pushed him forward. Well, here's the goal now. You see Patrick, he starts it off, he's picked the ball up on that right, he comes across on one of his mazy runs, plays it out wide into Oshish. They switch off a little bit, you see, and just keep your eye on the yellow boots now. Bell doesn't do it anywhere near enough. Look, he gives up on it, and then Patrick, out of his feet, fires it into the roof of the net. So they actually done quite well early on when they come on. They're too young, that earthy as well. But look, that there now, that's nowhere near good enough. Doesn't get challenging, doesn't affect it. Patrick just finds a little pocket of space. As we say, good from Oshish, good awareness, little cut back, and then bang, lovely finish into the roof of the net, and that's enough to take a point from it.
Yep. Good on Patrick Roberts, and he's earned his place back into the starting 11 this afternoon. And we'll flash that up in a second for you. As Sunderland travel down to South Wales and they play Swansea City this afternoon. 3 p.m. kickoff here on SAFC Live. Final chances there. Dan Ballard with a last minute opportunity, just trying to head it over the goalkeeper.
He knew what he had to do
but
there. There was no pace on it. The ball coming in, took the pace off it, and then he had to try and generate it. But good save from the keeper.
Okay, let's give you another quick look at the Sunderland side before we head off to our ad break. And some scenes there from down at the Swansea.com stadium. 2 changes, Danny.
Yeah, 2 changes, set us up that 4-3-3 really, with Dennis coming in like for like, Adji Elise dropping down to the bench, as we mentioned, and then Meander obviously started on the right on Tuesday night, then found his way across that left-hand side where he is this afternoon in place of Tommy Watson, and as you say, Patrick Roberts coming back in on that right-hand side.
Okay, that's your Sunderland team this afternoon. New injuries again, Danny. Tommy Watson, we found out in the week from Regis that he's going to be out for a number of weeks because of the injury sustained in that block challenge on Tuesday evening. Just haven't had the luck with those kind of things, have we?
No, we haven't, no. And as you say, Romain picked up his injury, well, him and Alan Brown, within 10 seconds of each other, wasn't it, a few games ago now. So yeah, you lose those 2, disappointing. Then we're getting 1 or 2 back out the treatment room. Dennis has been in there. He's back out there this afternoon. Obviously, a couple of appearances off the bench with his hand. Adji as well has been back out there. So we seem to get a couple back out, and then we lose 1 or 2 to the treatment room as well.
Do you expect Sunderland to do some business in January with all this considered, all the injuries as well?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't expect 7 or 8 players to be coming through the door. Maybe 1 or 2 maximum. Really, I think we're in a good position. We've got a decent core of the squad when everybody's fit. Obviously, at this moment in time, they're not, because what we just mentioned, you pick up naturally injuries. We're not the only side. Leeds are another one, aren't you, right up the top there, but they're getting through a period where they've picked up a few injuries as well themselves. But we just need 1 or 2 additions for me, and I'm sure the fans would agree as well. 1 or 2 areas which will probably break down at post-match, because the fans generally come on and asking which positions we need to strengthen. But yeah, no, certainly they've got to be looking. I'm sure they are. Christian, Stuart Harvey, the recruitment team are always having a look around and see what they can try to add.
In the lunchtime kickoffs in the Championship, it finished Bristol City 1, QPR 1, Coventry City 2, Hull City 1, and Preston North End were beating Leeds until deep into added time. I believe it was an own goal in that game, which means Leeds go top of the league, I think, on goal difference over Sheffield United. Of course, we could go within a couple of points and move up to 3rd, I believe, so we could move up a space this afternoon. But Sunderland have all the work to do down in South Wales. 3 p.m. kickoff here on SAFC Live. When we come back after the break, we'll be joined by club historian Rob Mason, and we'll have a look at our opposition this afternoon, which of course are Swansea City.
Opportunity here. Oh, how cool is that? From Chris Rigg.
Bellingham, 25-yard lines it up and drills it into the back of the net.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore.
Well, welcome back to SAFC Live. We're going to be joined by club historian Rob Mason in a couple of moments. But before he gets here, let's have a look at the team news for SAFC. First of all, Sunderland making 2 changes, Danny.
Yeah, a couple of changes for Regis this afternoon. As we said there, Dennis Serkin coming back in, trying to get his way back to full fitness. Really, only had a couple of weeks out, didn't he, with his hand injury. But as we said, a couple of appearances off the bench in recent weeks. But yeah, back out there in the starting lineup. And then Patrick Roberts coming back in as he was last Saturday against Stoke, and he had a good game for me against Stoke last week. Played his part in the week, coming off the bench, getting the goal to get us the point against Bristol City, and yeah, coming in on that right hand side, Meander moving across to the left. Let's have a first look, if we can, of Swansea City this afternoon. Now they've made a few changes as well, Danny. Well, they have 3 changes. They've had a bit of a mixed season. They're sat in 9th, so not too bad in terms of league position, but yeah, won 4 of the last 8. As we say, they're a bit of a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. I think you're looking at games against the top sides so far this season. They've lost 5 of their 6 1-0, albeit on their travels. And then the one they've played Leeds at home, lost that one 4-3. So they've not taken any points against the top 7. We're the last ones of those 7 to play. So hopefully that continues this afternoon. But yeah, I'd take a dirty 1-0 on the road this afternoon, wouldn't you, Rob?
Yes, well, Rob, we're joined by Rob Mason, who famously always says a point on the road is a good point, but you feel it's something in your waters this afternoon.
Yeah, it's possibly me age. I don't know. But no, yeah, I will take a point. If you offer me a 0-0 this afternoon now, I'll say, yeah, I'll always say that to an away game, unless it's the last game of the season and you need more than a point. Yeah. But I do feel as if we've got a good chance of winning this afternoon. Based on not much more evidence of the fact we've got such a shockingly bad record against Swansea in recent seasons that I think we're due a win, and I'm a big believer in the law of averages. But they're a decent team, Swansea. I think it'll be a difficult game for us this afternoon, but as I'm sure you 2 lads are on the top of this sort of information, Swansea like to keep the ball. Yes. You know, there's only Leeds keep the ball more than Swansea, but at the same time Swansea I think is something like 19th in the table for touches in the opposition box. Really? And I think the 5th in the table and only marginally behind 2nd in the table for hitting long balls. So we'll see whether this proves to be the case this afternoon. But I'm going to expect a lot of tippy-tappy football in front of the back 4 and then ending up humping it up front.
Yeah, that was a bit of a Swansea way, wasn't it? That's how they looked on the Premier League, wasn't it, Danny?
Yeah. Well, previous managers like to play that way, and I think Matt Grimes been there a while now, captain in there. More often than not, you look at most touches in the league, and he's always in the top 3 in terms of that. So he likes to try and get the ball down, control it, and dictate it for them. Obviously, they made a change with Franco coming in there alongside him this afternoon as well. But yeah, generally at home, especially at home as well, they like to try and get on the ball. Centre backs Harry Darling, I think he's a decent player at this level as well. Likes to try and step in with the ball, and the lad on the right wing as well, Ronald, that's come in this afternoon. Got a couple against us, didn't he? Was it last season, I think, at the Stadium of Light?
24th of February it was.
So that'll be an interesting one up against Dennis. You know, Dennis likes to bomb forward, but he's quite quick, Ronald down that right-hand side. So got to be careful, Dennis. Getting forward, yes, by all means, but just keeping an eye on what's happening behind him.
Just on Dennis Serkin coming back in, Rob, we're all fans, big fans of Ajay Elise, and you are especially, but what does Dennis Serkin give you that's different?
Well, I think firstly, he's a goal threat. You know, he gets a number of goals himself, and we saw recently, I think it was against Coventry, wasn't it, when he hit that pile driver. But he's good for popping up in the box, sort of 7 or 8 yards from goal and applying a finishing touch for a full-back. And also going forward, I mean, we've got a new left flank partnership today because obviously Mayenda's going to play on the left, and you know, Dennis has had Jack Clark, he's had Mundle, he's had Watson, and now he's got Mayenda. We'll see how they pair up. But from Mayenda's point of view, when he's got the ball going forward this afternoon, hopefully he's going to see this left back steaming up beyond him, giving him an option, taking the defender away. If he wants to cut inside, maybe he's making a bit of space for him to cut inside, or have the option of giving it to Dennis. So I do like Ajay Elise. I think he's been excellent this season. But if I was picking the team, which sadly I'm not, if I was picking the team, I would have picked Dennis Serkin this afternoon, and I'm keen to see him in. His inclusion is one of the reasons I'm feeling quite optimistic that while I am sticking to me, yes, I'll take a point, Danny. While I am sticking to me, I'll take a point. I've got a feeling that we might get through this afternoon.
Much has been made of Patrick Roberts' performances in recent months, but the last 2 or 3 games he's had a positive impact, hasn't he?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Patrick got a lot of pelters when his penalty was saved at Sheffield United recently. But for me, he's a class act. I know people can say, look, over the last year or so, the number of games he's played, he hasn't got that many, well, he's hardly got any goals, and he hasn't got that many assists. But for me, if I'm in the opposition dressing room when the Sunderland team sheet comes in and Patrick Roberts isn't in the team, if I'm the left back, I'm smiling.
Yeah.
Because I think Patrick Roberts is a good player. I think he opens things up. I think he drags people towards him. I think he makes space for the other people inside. And Patrick Roberts, if he was fit, I know there's an issue about whether he can start 3 games in a week, but if he was fit, Patrick Roberts would always be in my team. I think if you're starting to look at your team and thinking Patrick Roberts is a weak link, well, blooming heck, it tells you how far we've come, because there's a time when Patrick Roberts would have been your best player, and he's still one of our best players.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking historically, Rob, at this fixture, it's only been 38 meetings between the two sides, both sitting on 13 wins as well. In fact, I don't think we even met for the first time in the league until 1958.
That's right.
It wasn't very good after for Sunderland.
We got beat 5-0. We never played them at all until the mid-50s when we played them in the FA Cup and drew, and then if I remember rightly, beat them in the replay. But yeah, there's not a long history with Swansea. There's only one game that stands out for me as a real key game with Swansea, which was the last game of the 61-62 season down at their Swansea's old ground, the Vetchfield. And if Sunderland had won that day, and we did need another result to go for us, if Sunderland had won that day, they would have got promoted. But we just drew 1-1, Brian Clough getting our goal. But Leyton Orient beat Bury that afternoon, and they would have gone up anyway they had a better goal average, and it was goal average, not goal difference in those days. And it's so long ago that the team who won the league, because only 2 went up, and Sunderland and Leyton Orient were vying for the other place, the team who won the league appointed to a head were Liverpool in the second division. So that's a long time back.
It is a long time back. And talking of a long time back, Danny, you must have played at the Swansea.com stadium. It's probably called the Liberty Bell.
Do you know what? I haven't been there.
No.
I'll tell a lie. I've not been. I've trained there for Wales, but I've not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've trained there, but I've not played there. No.
Interesting.
The Vetch, similar. Trained there with Wales and didn't play there either. So yeah.
It's just funny, isn't it? Obviously, it was Swansea and Cardiff in the two predominantly English clubs. Welsh clubs in the English leagues. Big old trek for those fans every week, isn't there?
Yeah.
Swansea
it is.
fans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got the Bristol sides who aren't too far away in terms of Bristol City in the Championship for them as well. Yeah, but no, it's a long old journey. But from our point of view as well, we haven't got too many local ones up here, have we?
No, not at all. I dare say, I mean, somebody can get the calculator out and work out this afternoon if it's not an exciting match. But I dare say that Sunderland fans do more miles this season than Swansea fans will do if you do it every away game. But yes, it's a bit out on a geographical limb. I've been to Swansea many times to see Sunderland. And at least one thing about Swansea is once you get there, it's a nice place. You know, we've had some very good nights out in Swansea and nights for you. That's for people who are the press, Danny, not players having to be stuck up in the hotel. Correct. Swansea's a good place. I always find the people at Swansea be very welcoming, very friendly. It's a good atmosphere down at their ground. It's a nice place to go to, but ultimately you couldn't care less about that. You just care about the result. And sadly, as I say, in recent years, we haven't had too many good results. The Jermaine Defoe hat-trick and the 4-2 win aside.
And they're sitting 9th at the moment, Danny. This is probably as good as it's been for a little while there, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think they can move either this afternoon if they do get the 3 points. But yeah, you know, you're saying to me, where would you expect Swansea? If I was drawing up a table with the teams, I would probably put them somewhere between 8th and 15th. Yeah. I think most Swansea fans would agree with that as well, really.
Finished 14th last season. They want to see an improvement on that, won't they? And Luke Williams as well is known for this football, which he played at Notts County.
Get the ball down and try and play, of course, But as you say there, Rob's stats sort of suggest, you love having the ball, but it's what happens in the final third. And teams knowing that they're going to have the ball, and if they're only moving it 5-10 yards, and we've seen it ourselves, we're a little bit lethargic and pedestrian on the ball. Any opposite, doesn't matter who you're playing, they get back into their shape and it becomes difficult to break down.
Yeah, if they want to keep the ball in front of their own, in their own final third, that's absolutely brilliant from our point of view, because it's up to us then to go and get it off them in an attacking part of the pitch.
But plus, if they've got a lot of the ball, I was going to say, look at the pace we've got there, top end of the pitch as well. You know, that front 3 for us. Get them on the counter attack as well, driving forward.
I think one of the things is with Luke and I not playing this afternoon, and I always think Luke is very good in terms of his pace in covering. I wonder to what extent Swansea will be looking to keep the ball, to suck us in, and then hit a long ball over the top. And our central defenders, our full-backs and our goalkeeper might have to be sharpish if a ball's played over the top. And I think that's where we might miss Luke and I in this afternoon.
Yeah, well, I think we need to learn as well from the goal we conceded against Stoke at the weekend, 6 minutes on the clock. And remember we said there was no pressure on the ball, it's 20 yards in their half. and we're up on the half. Yes, Adji hasn't opened himself up. He's unaware of where Kumas is. But just drop off when there's no pressure. You know, you get taught that early on, for me anyway. I know you're looking at Spurs and one or two other clubs that love to do it and press up high, Brighton as well, but it's a bit suicide football for me. If nobody's got pressure on the ball and the ball's 20 yards in their half, it's an easy ball. There's a lot of grass to hit in behind, you know, and a striker will back himself running that way over the centre back more often than not.
And centre backs will be going mental about it as well, I imagine.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
Let's have a final look at the sides before we hit our next advert break. We'll start, of course, with Sunderland and the team news from down at theswansea.com. Danny touched upon something earlier, Rob. I wonder if you agree. Sunderland, although they're in this kind of period of draws and not the best form we've had all season, they're still creating chances, aren't they?
Yeah, we are creating chances. I mean, there's plenty of games we've come away and said, you know, if only. I honestly think that we just haven't had much of the rub of the green lately. You know, balls have been dropping just behind or just ahead of people. The Sheffield United game in particular still really troubles me because Sheffield United, we played great, and then they get one break of the ball 7 minutes from time and put it into the thin dividing line between success and failure in football. But if you give up and you suddenly start to think, oh well, aren't we hopeless? Let's start making loads of changes. You know, that's not the solution. The solution is to stick at it, keep doing the right things, and eventually things will fall for you. The ball will go in the net. You know, Wilson Isidore's due a goal. Earlier in the season, he was scoring some really great goals. Recently, he's had chances. It's not just quite fallen for him. I quite fancy him to get a goal this afternoon. But we've just got to keep trying it. We've been playing well. Look, some people are telling me this is a bad run. You know, we've lost 1 in 8, I think. Goodness me, we've all seen a lot worse runs than that, where we've lost 8 out of 8.
Of course there are,
So, you know, keep it in perspective. I know we've only won 1 out of that 8 as well. As you said, there's been a lot of draws, and we need to get that momentum back. But the point is, we are proven to be a difficult side to beat, and we've got to keep that up. If we were to lose this afternoon, you know, that would be a very, very disappointing result on the back of what's gone recently. But if we can get the 3 points, or even if we can get the 1 with a home game to come against Norwich, then that keeps us right up there. And I think at the beginning of the season, if we said, look, going into Christmas, we're right up there in the top 4, we're fighting for an automatic promotion place, never mind a playoff place, everybody would have thought brilliant. And we have done excellently. We've got to just keep it going, keep relying on doing the right things, and things will come good for us.
Yeah, no, because I mean, again, I've seen the journalist asking Regis in his post-match and what are you working on during the week, how are we scoring goals, and I can see what he's almost saying, well, we are getting in the right positions, we just need one to fly in off Isidore's backside or something, you know, get the rub of the green.
That's right.
I've been there as a player, it just happens in football at times. I was at, I can't remember which club I was at now, there was 8 games where we didn't score a goal, and you're thinking as a defender, we've got to keep it tight here because it's not happening at the top end of the pitch, whereas from our point of view, I'm looking at us and we are creating opportunities. Sheffield United, top of the table, we should have been 2 or 3 up, perhaps at half-time there. So it's not as if we're turning up at places, we're not having any ball going into the opposition's box. You know, we are getting ball in there and 1 will come off, and then when it does, I think we'll kick on and go again. Because, you know, people are saying 1 win in the last 8, puff, are we still amongst it? Well, we're still amongst it because we won 9 in the first 12. So we had the points on the board. Yes, we've had a dip in terms of results, because people sometimes say form. I wouldn't say form as much. There's 1 or 2. QPR and Preston probably where we weren't at it, but the other games where we, you know, Coventry should have beat them 2-0 up, or the Millwall last kick of the game. You know, so there are games where, but we've always been in games, haven't we? We haven't been in any game for me where we've come away thinking we were miles second best there. Half an hour against Leeds for me, that was it really.
Even the QPR and the Preston games, yes, you're quite right. We didn't play well. But it's not as if we were terrible.
No, they weren't much better than us.
And over a course of a season, any team are going to have spells where they just don't quite,
not quite
you know, they're not quite at it, things don't quite work out, whatever. And, you know, we can't make any excuses of it because every team's got injuries, but we're certainly not being helped by the number of injuries and long-term injuries we've had to players. Most recently, of course, to poor old Tommy Watson, who last Saturday afternoon was, you know, as high could be, having gotten his first 2 goals in, you know, in a first-team game. Thinks he's got the world at his feet, which he does have, but then 3-4 days later he's out injured for 2 months. Just goes to show you. And from the point of view of Regis Lebris, having found a 3rd solution of the season to the left flank, now has to find a 4th one.
And a different one as well, because Maine is naturally left-footed, isn't he? So you probably see him. I know you want Dennis flying on the outside, but sometimes he might have to leave the space. I mean, go back to my days at Stoke, I played left back. Matty Etherington in front of me, natural left-footed winger. And Tony Pulis would say, don't always go on the overlap because you create a bit of congestion there, so you might need a little bit of space. You see me end the second half the other night for me, 1v1. How many times did he go past the fullback?
Well, he was wanting to turn back in, wasn't he? He was wanting to hold it up. And if he's got grass in front of him, he's a big, powerful lad. This afternoon, I'm hoping they've got into him and said, look, you've got grass in front of you. You're getting into that. Never mind sticking back and holding it up. Get at them, because that's what the defender does not want you to do, and that's what your centre forward wants you to do.
Exactly. Against Joshua Key this afternoon will Eliza Mayenda be. Okay then, that's it for this part of the programme. If you have been watching on YouTube, thanks for being with us. We're going to go on to our Behind the Paywall programme now, and if you want to come with us for that, you can get your matchday streaming passes around the world right now at safc.com.